Okay, so as we start the problem solving, the question that was asked for the second one was, so everything has a cost. So Jerome said, if you go to McDonald's, you can eat for McDonald's, but you're probably going to die earlier. Yeah, there's a cost. And one of the things we talked about was the idea that, excuse me, that poverty makes people make choices. Poor people are more likely to be obese than rich people because it's so much more expensive to eat healthy. And so if you think about the cost of an apple compared to the cost of a cheeseburger at McDonald's, all of those factors of production that we talk about that go into making a cheeseburger compared to the factors of production that go into making an apple, it just seems like it should cost way more to make a cheeseburger. But because of what McDonald's is able to do through their economies of scale and through understanding how markets work, they're able to make a cheeseburger cheaper than an apple. So the question is, can't you get the apples at McDonald's? You can, but what is the cost compared to other stuff? And the bigger issue is this. How many calories are in an apple? Anybody know? Not that many. I think they're usually about 90 calories. How many calories are in a cheeseburger? 900. In a cheeseburger, you're probably looking at 300-400 calories. Now, if you're poor, your goal is to get as much food as you can, as much satiation, meaning you're satisfied, as you can for the cheapest amount of money. Which makes you feel more satisfied, a cheeseburger or an apple? A cheeseburger. So people will spend less money on a cheeseburger and feel more full. That's economizing. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start this second one now with graphing. And so here's what I'm going to ask for. We have our S1, that's our original one. We have our D1, that's our original demand. Remember, at this point in the corner is 0, 0, meaning at this point nobody will do anything because there is no reward. Nobody will produce anything. Nobody will demand anything because there is no incentive to do anything. On the left we have price. On the bottom we have quantity, and really what we're saying is how much will people produce or buy based on how much you charge them. On the left it's the same. What is the price? On the bottom it's how much do you want or how much will you make. And so we constantly have this battle between people who go into a store and people who own the store. When you walk into a store, what do you want? I'm not talking about a single product. Your general idea in every store in America for the rest of your life will be this. What's that? Get a deal. Very good. You want to get as much as you can for as little as possible, right? That's your goal. Well, businesses, if you own a business, what do you want to get? Good. You want to sell as much as you can for as much as you can. So you don't want to sell 20 things for $1. You want to sell 20 things for $20, right? So this is a constant battle between individuals and producers. So consumers and producers. This is why you want as many businesses of the same type as you can everywhere. This is why you should be really scared of the Comcast Time Warner deal. Because if you only have one major company that provides internet in the country, what will happen to the price? It will increase, it will go up because we will have a decrease in the, let's use economic terminology. Good, number of suppliers. So what it will look like is this. Right now, Comcast and Time Warner are trying to consolidate. Comcast is trying to buy them. If we have that happen, what will happen to the supply of internet? It will decrease because you don't have as many options. So when we have a decrease in supply, so now we have S2, we have a decrease in supply. Remember, it has decreased because it moved to the left. One second, it moved to the left. We now can say, what can we predict to happen? Well, as we look at this, here is our new price and quantity. Here is our old price and quantity. What happened to the price? It increased. What happened to the quantity? It decreased. So our price went from that up, our price went from that here. Remember, the further away from 0, that's an increase on both sides. So now, here's what you can ask. Are you, as a consumer, going to be better off if we decrease the supply? No. Are most businesses going to be better off when we decrease the supply? Which business will be better off? Comcast. They are trying to form a what? No, that's union is for workers. A conglomerate. A conglomerate is a bunch of different things. A monopoly. They're trying to form a monopoly. Think about the game Monopoly. Your goal is to destroy, to own everything so that nobody else can make any money. Tia. Okay, so you're asking, can the government prevent them? Yes, the government can prevent them if we talk to the government and tell them why this shouldn't happen. But let's be honest, who has more influence, Comcast or you? Comcast has more influence. They're spending a ton of money on it. People who used to work for Comcast are lobbying the government, spending tons of money, and most of you are like, hey, what's on The Bachelor tonight? Hey, how's LeBron doing in the playoffs? Well, then don't complain when your internet sucks. How many of you have Netflix? Raise your hand. Okay, so we have a lot of students that have Netflix. How was your Netflix performing in January? Really? Pretty good? For most people, Netflix was garbage in January because Comcast was throttling. It was decreasing their bandwidth, so they couldn't get it through. And because you can only go to one internet provider, really, there was nothing you could do. They forced Netflix to start paying them to host their service, and so then it got better. You have Comcast? It depends on where you're at, and it depends on what time of day, but it was terrible. They have all sorts of articles online about what was going on. Nick? Okay, so the question, how does a dollar store get their prices so low? Great question. So now, we have a store that sells stuff. So this is exactly what we're trying to do with this example. Here you have your original price of a good, an original price of your good, right? What the dollar store does is they buy extra. Why are they able to buy extra? What do you get at the dollar store? Cheap food, cheap stuff, candy, what'd you say? Toys. Is it brand, like it's always new, but is it like the brand new, fresh off the line? No, it's old stuff. So here's what had happened. You go to Sears, right? Think about when you buy stuff. So you go to Sears to buy a snowblower. When is the worst time to buy a snowblower? In the winter, because everyone wants them. Now, let's use that logic and think about other products. Let's say you have barbecue, like grill flippers, because that's something you can get at a dollar store, right? So Sears buys tens of thousands of those grill flippers. And then in the winter, what happens to the demand for it? Good. So the demand decreases. So here we have, this was D1, we have a decrease in demand because of the seasonal changes, right? Consumer tastes. Remember those 6 things? So here's what we have is consumers, for whatever reason, even though this is very predictable, demand less. So what do companies do? No. They sell it for less, they put it on sale. Now, if you are Sears and you are stuck with 5,000 grill flippers, what are you going to do? You want to get it out as quick as you can. The dollar store goes into those companies and buys it at this price. Make sense? So that's all they do is they capitalize on a decrease in demand. All they do is they buy stuff on sale that's extra. If they have apples at the dollar store, here's what you would see is, for whatever reason, that's because you're able to buy in excess for somebody who bought too much. Because you have all of these big companies trying to guess. This is what marketing and forecasting is hey, how much will we need next year? You always want to have more than you need. Sometimes you guess way wrong and buy way more than you need. Prisons, see, people get mad. My mother-in-law used to work at a prison, and she would see people would get mad because the inmates were getting good food. I mean, they would get shrimp, they would get steak, and people would get so mad. Why are we feeding these people this? Well, where were they buying that stuff from? Cheap places. They were buying steak that was about to go bad. You know what I mean? Like you had 2 weeks left, you can't sell it. Walmart is going, we have 8,000 pounds of steak that we're going to have to throw away. We need to get some money back, so we're going to put it on sale, but nobody's going to walk into Walmart and buy 8,000 pounds of steak. Instead, what they do is they talk to somebody who's a brokerage who will help facilitate that transfer from them to the prison system, and the prison is buying it for 10, 20, 30 cents a pound. So it's cheaper to feed the prisoners steak than it is sometimes to feed them hamburger. It would just depend. Does this make sense? So now, as we do this, when we try and problem solve with pricing, what I want to do is this. Here's our original, and I'm going to give you scenario 1. Okay, and we're going to figure out what happens. So here's scenario 1. We have S1. We have D1. All right. Somebody give me a product. Xbox. No, we've used the Xbox. Shoes. Shoes. Oh, what's that? Pomegranates. All right. Pomegranates. All right, here we go. Pomegranates. So, let's work through our logic on this. Pomegranates. You are walking into, so let's start with this. Pomegranates. A new study is shown that pomegranates decrease the chance of Alzheimer's by 200%. Now, let's think of your scenario. How do we do this? How do we problem solve this to answer all these questions? Good, you walk in a store. So you're walking in a store to buy a pomegranate or to buy fruit. You're about to reach out and grab it, and you see the thing, the note that says, hey, this will decrease your chance of Alzheimer's by 200%. Will that affect your decision as a consumer? Yes, so we know that this is a change in demand. We don't have to go more or less yet. First, we just want to say, am I going to draw a new D or a new S line? And because you care, this will affect your decision making. You will say, this is demand. Now, when you see that, will that encourage you to buy more or less pomegranates? Good, you're going to buy more, so we will have a new demand, and it's an increase in demand. It is to the right. That's why it's an increase in demand. Is everybody with me? Since we see this, now we can easily say, hey, what happens with an increase in demand? Number one, what happens to price? Good, price has increased. What has happened to quantity? Good, it has increased. Who benefits? Good, I like both. Who benefits the most, if I was going to ask it that way? Producers. So here's what you would say. Are consumers better off? Yeah, because they want it more. Now you could say, well, it's going to cost more. You're right, but there's a reason they want more. Who's going to benefit the most? Businesses, because guess what? They used to sell this. I got to remember my finger doesn't show up on the video. They used to sell this. Now they sell this many at a higher price. They make more profit. So what are companies always trying to do? Increase your demand. What do you think companies spend most of their money on? Advertising. Why do you think TV is free over the air? It's not free. Nothing is free. Who pays for it? The companies with commercials, and that only exists so long as the commercials work and we go out and buy stuff because of that. Advertising is what drives so much of the other stuff that we get for free. How does Facebook make money? Advertising. They sell targeted advertisements to companies who will post that you will hopefully see on your Facebook page and then click on. What the companies are trying to do is increase your demand for a good. All right, pomegranates. Right? What's that again? That's what the concern is so the question was, what a lot of people watch Netflix. I don't have TV. I just watch Netflix. So a lot of companies are concerned, a lot of TV broadcasts are concerned because more and more people are doing that. So how do they advertise then? That's tough. I will say this, that's one of the reasons I watch Netflix is there's no advertising. They should start offering what? Live TV? That doesn't really fit their business model. Last one for this video. I know this one's getting long, but this is the stuff I want to make sure you get. This is practice problem solving. Pomegranates again. Okay. So you are walking into a store to buy pomegranates, and you find out that the price of fertilizer has increased 300%. You're walking into a store. Good, Derek. You walk into a store, you're about to grab a pomegranate, and you see a sign that says fertilizer. The price of fertilizer has increased 200%. Will that alter your decision to buy a pomegranate? Why would you say yes, Nick? No, see, you're talking about what's going to happen in the future. At this exact moment, you're like, man, I really want a pomegranate. Oh, fertilizer's expensive. I guess I won't buy one. You don't care. I get where you're going. This is the problem. That's why I'm glad you did this. The problem that we have when we see these examples so much is people will go, well, then I'll think about the future, and then I'll do this and this. All right, fine. If I then asked this question, if you love pomegranates, what will you do? You'll buy a bunch more, if you can think that through. But at that moment, are people thinking that? No, people aren't thinking about that. Buy fertilizer. That'd be my thought. Fertilizer's going way up. I better buy some now. Of course, what am I going to fertilize? So I guess that's a stupid example. Now, you are a farmer who grows pomegranates, and you suddenly see that the price of fertilizer has increased 300%. Do you care? Yes, so now it is a change in supply. Will that increase or decrease the amount of pomegranates you will be able to produce? Decrease. So now we have a decrease because it has moved left, and so here's what we see. What happened to the price? Good, the price increased. What happened to the quantity? Now, this is why I don't want you starting by figuring out price, because if you go, well, if the price goes up, then people will buy less. Is that always true? No, if we can increase demand, we can raise price and people will still buy it. This is gasoline. This is cigarettes, right? As the price of cigarettes goes up, the core audience still buys cigarettes. There are times, though, that we will increase price and decrease quantity, and so that's why we want to start with that. Nick? Does it matter where we put the line on that side? It doesn't matter how far away you draw it. It could be this. That doesn't matter. Not for this class. Eventually, yes, that's very important, but that's if you're going into business and marketing. For us, all we care is it's to the left. Any questions? Good. This is the end of the second video.